And this was a response that they didn't need after what had happened at the weekend, especially against the Lazio side, who have not been lighting up the Serie A this season after what had been a strong season last year. As for Bayern's struggles, this is how they continue. Consecutive losses for the first time since December 2019. 0 shots on goal for the first time since 2019 against Liverpool. Consecutive games without a goal for the first time since 2015. And it's the first time they've lost a round of 16 first leg since 2012. That was against Basel. They completely turned it around in the second leg. But it is the last season without a trophy, 2011 and 2012, if we are to go back then. Jan Agafjotov joining us now to talk more about this. But just to start with...
And here we spent all day yesterday building Bayern back up.
We did.
Building the blocks of positivity. How can this Bayern team turn the corner? Going to Lazio, you mentioned, not exactly great, sitting sort of, I think, 8th in Serie A. Solid unit, kind of.
If you listened yesterday, Craig, you will hear me saying that I think this is a risky game for Bayern. What they did after the Leverkusen game was to first of all change today. They went in a back four. They got the people in the game, Joshua Kimmich, Goretzka, Müller in, and play more safe today. In the first half, they had more or less control. They didn't have shot on target, but still Kane, Musiala, Kimmich should have done better. But there is also another in terms of facts. If you have Upamecano in your team, you know that you will always do something stupid. Sarri could just say to halftime, Upamecano, average in every game, will do something stupid, and he did 2 times today. First he lost the ball, Isaksen threw, Neuer standing up for a long time, a good save, and then this red card is a clear red card, and they lose 1-0. And believe me, boys and girls, since I've been off this game, I've been watching the press conference, I've seen German media, they're not hunting Upamecano, they are hunting Thomas Tuchel. They want Thomas Tuchel out of the Bayern job, and they, meaning the press in Germany right now.
Are they right to be hunting Thomas Tuchel?
Well, he's in one of the biggest jobs in the world, isn't he? So it comes with the territory. They're terrible by Bayern standards. They're average, absolutely average at best. And I talked about it yesterday. Jan mentioned a tricky game. Every game's a tricky game for Bayern at the moment, even if they're playing somebody at the bottom of the Bundesliga. But he's going back to the well here. I talked about this yesterday. He's going back to the well with players that he's already somewhat castigated. Kimmich, Goretzka, who he took off, Upamecano, De Ligt, who he's then had to come on. Well, he didn't have to come on, he could have brought Eric Dyer on. But it's clear he brought Eric Dyer in. It's clear he doesn't, and people will say, well, why did De Ligt come in and not Dyer? Because De Ligt didn't play at the weekend. It's all over the place. It's crystal clear he doesn't really like Eric Dyer in the 2. I think he's brought him into Bayern Munich because he's got this in his head. He's going to play a 3 at the back with Eric Dyer in the middle. Well, that went flying out the window on Saturday at Leverkusen when he did it. So it's kind of all over the place. But he's having to go back to these players now and go, oh, I know I've not been your biggest fan, but come on, can you do it for me? And that's a big problem for him. A huge problem. No shots on target. Nothing on target with the quality players that they have is quite shocking. And if you think back to Man City last year against Bayern Munich, who was the guy that City allowed on the ball all the time? Particularly at the Etihad, Upamecano. And he had an absolute shocker. So if you play your cards right, like Lazio did at times, and they might do in the second leg, well, Upamecano can't play, but if they play the cards right, they let him have the ball, and then he would make mistakes. So, yeah, not a little surprising, but not a lot, I would say.
Well, I think what is surprising, though, from my perspective, is the fact that given the context of what Bayern Munich was in the weekend, given the fact that in their most important game of the season, they were humiliated, they were taken to pieces, they were destroyed by Bayer Leverkusen, what I was expecting from Bayern Munich today, at the very least, beyond tactics, beyond how they were set up on the field, beyond whatever Thomas Tuchel does on the sideline, I was expecting a Bayern Munich team that was going to show, at the very least, competitive pride. That there was going to be a sense of energy and intensity about his team that would allow then some of the quality that they do have on the field to show up. Because once they have the intensity, once they have the energy, once they show that competitive pride, maybe naive to think that maybe this version of Bayern Munich at some point would then show up the qualities that we think they're capable of showing up. Even after the red card, because we can have a conversation pre-red card and post-red card, but even before the red card, it's not like this team were flying all over the place. And Thomas Tuchel in his post-game press conference is saying we were under control, we were playing well. Yeah, you may have controlled the game, but I don't know that you were playing particularly well. It wasn't explosive. It wasn't dynamic. It was slow. It was predictable. It was underwhelming. It was what Bayern Munich have been the whole season. That eventually they kind of find a way to win a game 1-0. And Craig just mentioned, this is how it's been even playing against teams in the bottom of the table in Bundesliga, whether it's whoever. You mention whoever, and they have difficulties. And that has been the case in Bundesliga and was the case today again. So even until the red card, you didn't see that big reaction, that quote-unquote reaction coming from the humiliation against Bayer Leverkusen. That's the disappointing part of me, is that beyond whatever you think of the tactics of Thomas Tuchel, the players themselves out on the field, they just kind of going along with the game, and eventually they make the mistake that they have been making, and eventually they find themselves behind, and eventually there's no way of coming back because they haven't shown to be a team that can actually come back from deficits this year either.
I think Thomas Tuchel, in some sense, can think himself a very lucky man when this draw came out. Because they've basically been beaten and under pressure and have played one of the more limited teams in this competition that are left. And he can be thankful for that this 1-0 defeat is probably going to be something that they'll, the cough's back, something that he'll come back from. Possibly, because had he played and had he got somebody much better than Lazio, they could have been flattened tonight, absolutely flattened. So he can thank his lucky stars for that. That's one thing.
Jan, but early on in the second half, we even saw it in the highlight. Tuchel's 10 minutes into the second half got his head in his hands. I mean, that just does not instill courage and confidence in this side, surely.
No, but please, I mean, yes, we can have we know that Christoph Freund said before the game, we lost together in Leverkusen. We have to solve this together. The only thing is that they won't be all fired together. That is only Tuchel who will be fired. So, yes, we can go after Tuchel, but today he set up a conservative starting 11. This was not like the experiment that he did at Leverkusen, but wow, there is enough players out there that can take charge. If we see this team today, I think Neuer was good, Masurai was good, Kim did okay. The rest of the team, where are they? We have 2 games now, we've seen them, we have followed them, we have made our analysis on them. Harry Kane, total gone. Musiala, Florian Wirtz played him off the park. He wasn't there today either. And I'm with Craig. In the first half, Bayern kind of controlled the game in terms of they had the ball, but there were no passion. And they played against the number 8 in Serie A. Stadio Olimpico, 60,000 supporters, and they didn't do anything, Lazio. In the second half, at least, they took some counter-attacks. So yes, this is an understatement of the night, but this is a big decision now for Bayern what they're going to do. At the weekend, they're going to Bochum. That is, Bochum know what to do, and then they play Leipzig, then they play Lazio again, and they have to win and so on. This is, I said it yesterday, I will say it again. If they get knocked out by Lazio, I think there's Thomas Tuchel, and you know I rate him. I've always rated Thomas Tuchel, but I think he will be fired if he will be knocked out. 2 years ago, they were knocked out by Villarreal. Last season, they were knocked out by Manchester City. That's okay. But Lazio now, that is for all kind of levels or standards of Bayern Munich, scandalous.
Well, let's hear what the coaches had to say after the game. He said, I think we lost the game. I'm not sure Lazio won it. I'm not sure why we lost our conviction in the second half, but we did. And then we fell behind. I can't explain it because we told the team to maintain their intensity and be even braver going forward. But we seemed to lose face at the start of the half. We did everything possible to lose this game. It was in our hands. At a certain point, we stopped believing. There were many individual errors too.
There is a point in the game, in the second half, in which Bayern Munich regained possession of the ball. and Thomas Tuchel is sitting at the sidelines just pushing the team forward. And you can see that physically he is yelling and essentially telling the team to get forward, to go ahead, to push the line forward. And the reaction of the team was to pass the ball sideways and back and sideways and back. And then he just kind of went back and sat down. At that point, I'm looking at it, and I don't have to be in that locker room to kind of put things together and say, he's literally yelling at the guy who's right next to him, who just won possession of the ball, let's get forward. And the reaction was to pass the ball sideways and back. There's a disconnect here. It is clear to see. And it's a disconnect that you can see individually, but you can see it as a group. And that's on Thomas Tuchel and the players. Individually, when I look at the players in a particular sequence around the 60th minute, Harry Kane is playing as if he's Toni Kroos or he is Sergio Busquets or as if he's a holding midfielder getting balls from center backs and trying to play the ball, spray balls to the right-hand side. They lost that ball. Eventually, they regain possession. He gets it back, and now he tries to spray it to the left-hand side. They've lost that ball again, and now he's tracking back defensively. I'm thinking, what? Why? Why? How? This is your guy that should be up there, finishing chances. And at the end of the game, when they're chasing it, who's actually getting the half chances? Is Masraoui? Is Choupo-Moting? Where is Harry Kane? Nowhere near inside the 18-yard box. I don't understand it. I don't get it. There's a disconnect between the managers and the players. But inside, on the field, there's also a disconnect in terms of the jobs that some of these players should be doing.
It's just, you know, that head in the hands point. It wasn't necessarily me, Jan, getting at Thomas Tuchel. It's as if that because of that half-time talk he's had, they've agreed what they're going to do, and then it's Lazio who come out on the
cover these eyes, because even he doesn't want to watch Bayern Munich.
But what?
I'm not even another bash at this without...
Has he not got their respect, Craig?
Sorry?
Has he not got their respect? Are they not listening to their coach?
Well, one of the things that I keep hearing, or I've heard a couple of times from him and from players is, well, the training has been great and all this sort of stuff. And listen, we've all played with numerous players that look like Maradona and Messi in training, and then when they get out there and this word pressure sort of comes down on you like a ton of bricks, and all of a sudden, you know, your manager's under pressure, you're under pressure, you're going behind, you're making mistakes. And I think we're seeing all of that. And I reiterate what I said yesterday and previous days. Thomas Tuchel was brought in clearly to take Bayern to the next step forward, to take them forward, to move them on, to improve every facet of the performances in the squad. And I think they've gone back the way. I don't think there's a doubt about that. Now, is there time to resurrect the season? Of course there is. Do any of us have great confidence that they'll do it domestically or in this Champions League? I don't think there is, and I think that's what he's going to hang his hat on, is that we will turn it around. You know, we will catch Leverkusen and we will knock Lazio out, and, you know, whoever we get will be better by then. And that's all he can do at this moment in time. Because he can't sit there and go, we're crap. And, you know, we'll probably not beat Lazio, and Leverkusen have gone into the sunset. He can't do that, because he just can't. So somehow he has to foster an attitude that's going to turn this around. But I go back to the point is, he's thrown a couple of players under the bus already. He's having to go back to them. They don't know what the best team is. They don't know what the best midfield is. They don't know what the best back four is. And it wouldn't be a great surprise if Lazio were to go to the Allianz Arena, sit deep and, you know, get a draw and knock them out. And as Jan said, he doesn't survive it. He can't survive being knocked out of this competition by Lazio. And
he can't avoid the comparisons, Jan, because they're obviously all coming out after this game. One of them, Thomas Tuchel, has lost 10 of his 43 competitive matches as Bayern coach, which is already as many defeats as his predecessor, Julian Nagelsmann, suffered in 84 games in charge of the club.
Yeah, and that's the fact, Kay, and you can't get away from that. And, you know, if you're going to define who is a good manager, who is a bad manager, you can easily say, yeah, that's in number of titles. But I will say that is how you improve your team, how you improve the individual players. And if we see, remember back when Nagelsmann was taken off the job, they said Tuchel they should save the season. And then cha-cha-cha, they were out of the Pokal, they were out of the Champions League. And then Dortmund said, we don't want to win the Bundesliga, so you can win it. So we just play a draw at Mainz at home. So going into a new season, yes, in terms of points, they've had many points. That it's okay, but he hasn't improved the team, Tuchel, now. He hasn't improved any player. I'm thinking, who could he have improved in that team? Now, I can't find any player. Harry Kane, he didn't need to improve. He just went to Germany and did the same thing he has done for England and he has done for Tottenham. And that's the problem of Tuchel. But I would just want to say that there will be a hunt of the coach, but there's also players in there who now use the pressure on Tuchel as an alibi. They are kind of hiding behind him. At Thomas Müller, I listen to him, I hear his interviews, well done. World-class interviews, world analyze of Bayern Munich. But when he's playing Thomas Müller now, he doesn't look like a player who should play for Bayern. And that's a fact too. But we know the processes at Bayern. I don't think they will do anything now to calm the situation down. But this won't last forever, because the history of Bayern just show that you will be gone sooner rather than later.
Who was that team that they went out the Pokal to this year?
Saarbrücken.
And they were in the second division or the
third
tier? I mean, how bad does it have to get? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like... And he's right about Thomas Müller. Thomas Müller's been a great player. But Thomas Müller ran around that field like he was giving the interview. You know, like, if you remember the interview from the weekend.
Yeah, just to add some context, he did say that it's not just Tuchel, the players have to do their part, right? That's what Thomas
yeah, but he was this
say,
angry man at the weekend. And I know a bit about that. You know, he was this angry guy shouting.
So you can recognise
shouting in German, which I can't do, about everybody. My mic pack's. I'm just falling apart. My mic pack's falling off, and he's just screaming and shouting, and then I just felt like at times today that's kind of what he took onto the field. It was just sort of, I want to do a bit of everything. I'm going to solve this whole thing on my own, and the whole thing's just getting and has gotten out of control. And I'll be honest, I don't see it turning around for Thomas Tuchel. I just don't. I don't think he's in this for much longer.
But I